Hey guys, it's Radon, and I'm sorry about the long wait, and it's already been past 100 subscribers, but here's the How to Get to Diamond Console Edition. Thank you to Lee Montauk for the suggestion. If you guys would like to see a video from me on a certain topic, feel free to suggest in the comments section, and I will consider them. This guide is predominantly geared towards the console side of Overwatch, but I'm sure the less controller-based tips can be applied to PC as well. Just keep in mind that the tips are 1. From a mainly PlayStation 4 player, and 2. Developed from console rather than both platforms. Though I have played on PC as well, I gained a lot of my knowledge and experience from console, and it's also where I started. So please keep that in mind if you are a PC player watching this for tips. Anyways, with the technicalities out of the way, let's get into my first tip. Number 1. Find your tribe. What I mean by tribe is just people you know you play well with. Don't get this confused with people you like playing with. Though the two can intertwine, one is a lot more rewarding than the other. If your goal is to climb, playing with someone you can play well with is your target, rather than someone you can joke around with. Now, this sounds rather cold, but it's what got me out of gold, into platinum, then into diamond. If you're a high platinum player, and your best friend is high silver, you might not necessarily want to queue with them in competitive because they lack the game knowledge of the players in your elo. This severely limits both of you, as you will both be a ball and chain to each other. However, queuing with someone you play well with will help both of you. The goal of this is to maximize positive attributions to each other. If you play well together, you'll get more feelings of satisfaction. Playing well includes, but not limited to, cooperation, trust, and follow-up. This is why in a lot of my climbing with Radon videos, I'm almost never alone. Having a teammate you can trust on and depend on gives you a sense of security, making you able to make those plays that wouldn't have been possible without the knowledge of your teammates. Having one other person is already a third of your team covered, and having 2 other people and queuing as a 3-stack is already half the team. I generally don't suggest queuing with someone outside of a 500 SR range, but that's a very general number, so you don't have to follow it so closely. If you do have a friend you'd like to queue with, but they are outside of your SR range, or you know they aren't fit for your level of playstyle yet, make a Smurf account where you can play with them without the risk of losing your SR, and to teach them step by step how to play effectively in each skill level you get to. A low gold game is very different from a high plat game, so this is where your experience and knowledge would come in handy. But Radon, you may ask, how do I meet people if I don't play a lot of competitive, or like to join or talk in team chat? This is where just being forward comes in handy. I met my duo queue partner from season 4 to 5 when I was in quick play. At the time, I just thought his Hanzo was really good, so I added him. Then I invited him to play with me at the time. After playing for a while and learning what he played best, and his overall playstyle, I asked if he'd like to play with me in competitive, and that's how we established trust. Striking up a conversation with your newly made friend helps a lot as well, as getting to know them can help you have more fun while playing. Just because they're your competitive friend doesn't mean that you can't be best friends. So, to sum it up, socialize, make friends, and message them, etc. Number 2, stay positive. Now, I'm sure this tip has been thrown around a lot in other guides, and it's no surprise it has been, because it definitely helps. Back in Season 5, I dropped from 3.3k all the way down to 2.8k after aggressively deciding to solo queue. I finished the season at 2,997, but the damage was already done. My win rate was severely low, at my highest being 49% on Zarya, who I never played much. I was incredibly sad and I had zero hope for future seasons. However, I did my placements in Season 6 anyways, with the mindset of at least collecting some competitive points. The experiences I had from solo queuing in Season 5 helped me prepare to solo queue in Season 6, helping me climb starting from 3,024 to 3,235. I didn't play much that season, only 11 hours, but this experience ignited my love for competitive again, and helped me climb to where I am now. Don't take your losses too personally. You're one person out of 6, and especially for a Mercy player like me, it is incredibly hard to carry in the traditional sense. And know that in the end, it is impossible to win every game. You will lose, and just know that the loss you had in one game brings you closer to a win in another. As a wise player once told me, if you win, feel happy about it. If you lose, learn from your defeat and move on to a new game. Now, I don't exactly know if that's what he said to me, but it's close enough. It was some real Mufasa to Simba type shit. To say it in one sentence, look at your losses with curiosity rather than wrath, as sometimes you really couldn't have done anything to make it better. Number 3, fix your controller. Now, this is where the more technical stuff comes in, the more console-related stuff I promised you about. From my experience, this applies mostly to playing Lucio, as remapping can greatly improve your APM, actions per minute. In my case, I mapped my controller completely different from the default settings. I have R1 binded to toggle crouch, L1 binded to jump, ability 1 crossfade binded to right on the D-pad, ability 2, which is amp it up, binded to circle, and everything else is just the same. If you find the default settings easier to use and feel like it's more comfortable for you, then feel free to ignore this tip. However, I definitely believe that my new controller settings where a distance jump and wall ride from primary fire really helps. Especially since Lucio can do so many things with crazy mobility, I feel like that switching up your controls can really aid your APM and climb. However, remember that after switching up controls, it will take a long time to get used to them. I think it took me around 15 levels or so of intensely playing Lucio in order to get used to my own settings. You don't need to follow these settings exactly, but I made it similar to Mercy's kit, who I play a lot of, so it was slightly easier to adapt to. Number 4, know when to stop. All good things must come to an end, even on a winning streak. In my honest opinion, if you lose 2 in a row, it's best that you stop playing for the day. Because I found that by the second game you lose in a row, you get very unmotivated and tired from focusing all that energy into trying to win, then losing it all at once. Or, alternatively, even before you start, if you get a feeling you'll lose, or if you're feeling unwell physically, for example, having a headache, it's best that you don't even start, since a loss will only make you feel worse. This is more like a health advisory tip, but there are a lot of times where I brushed off my headache and decided to play competitive. This ended up with me being even more sick due to the motion, and the stress of me losing afterwards. If you have a bad feeling about the upcoming game, don't play. This attitude can really easily seep into your gameplay, and you'll start to see every minor loss as a "I knew it" type of situation. This pre-game defeat will affect you and your team negatively, so don't play it if your gut tells you so. Humans are feeble creatures, attributing unrelated things to each other in order to find a reason for a consequence, so just don't do it. It sounds superstitious, but it's more like a tricking your brain kind of thing. If you feel bad, it's probably going to affect your gameplay. And with every mistake, you could, I'm not saying you will, but from my experience, think to yourself, I knew this would happen, I shouldn't have played. The biggest enemy here is yourself, so unless you're feeling positive or just not negative about the upcoming match, I don't suggest forcing yourself to play. Number 5, don't be that guy or girl. What I mean by this is don't be that guy who spams, I need healing because their healers aren't able to heal you when you've dived in 1v6. Even if your healers are doing bad, a little I need healing once will help every now and then to get their attention, but spamming it when you're literally dead doesn't help at all. Don't spam thanks after losing an objective because you got picked off at the beginning of the teamfight because you were too busy trying to Dragon Blade the entire team when everyone was coming back from spawn. It's just unnecessary, stupid, and disruptive. If you come into the team chat to only complain saying, our Symmetra sucks, then leaving, you're literally, as I'd like to call it, an asshole. Don't belittle a one-trick for what they are, since I'm pretty sure they know they are one, and they'd like to just win by playing a hero they can only play. It's a little awkward, but try to play around them. Just play at your best, even if you don't think their hero is great. Since they won't be able to play other heroes at all, you might as well try and maximize your chances of winning by playing with them rather than against them. This isn't me encouraging one-tricking, but really just telling you to be a decent human being. If you hate this one player so much, don't message them after the game saying, "Why didn't you switch?" or "Screw you," because you are, again, being an asshole. Just block them and be on your merry way. Don't sabotage your team with your negativity over what's just a game. If you'd like to stop receiving messages from people who aren't your friends, this helps if you'd like to avoid hate, there's a setting on the PS4, not sure about Xbox One, where you can only receive messages from friends. I think the default setting has it turned off, so you'll need to turn it on. Through this setting, I was able to avoid meaningless negativity and hate whilst enjoying the game as it was. It's sad that I have to remind people to act like mature adults, but a lot of people either aren't or get blinded by anger easily. Even I've been like this before, so I'm no saint when it comes to playing this game. You'll even see me openly be passive-aggressive to people in some of my own videos. So this is more like a life lesson, I suppose.
Good job.
Victory!
Wow, we had an asshole like Cable and yet we still won. Isn't that amazing?
Number 6. Learn your hero. A lot of my game knowledge came from playing the game, but also from pre-existing guides. That and some serious investing into certain heroes, Mercy especially, d.va, Mei, and Sombra. I also watch a lot of top-tier players playing the heroes I want to learn, and I also learn from them. This doesn't necessarily mean watching their streams and matching their schedules, but 1 or 2 games here and there, and trying to guess their thought process as they play might help. If you're afraid of experimenting with your main account, make a smurf and dedicate that account to only playing the heroes you want to learn. The game will place you in games you feel most comfortable, yet challenged, to learn and improve on your heroes. In the case of Moira, I learned how to play her down in Platinum by dedicating a lot of time into playing her down at the Platinum rank. This helped me expand my hero knowledge and later utilize her in Diamond and Master. This may be more difficult towards PC players, but since this guide is mainly geared for console players, this tip will be a lot more applicable to them. As for PC players, I'm not quite sure. Try scrimming, I guess? I honestly can't say much for the other side since I have long since stopped playing there. Number 7. Know basic game knowledge. I'll keep this last point brief and to the point. Here are the stuff you need to do regardless of tier and experience. 1. Stop staggering yourself. If during a teamfight you've lost 2+ people and you've expended a lot of ults, step back and wait in front of spawn. Dying is the worst thing you can do in the game. Number 2. Be aware of footsteps. If you hear the loud clunking of McCree's boots behind you, know that he is probably trying to high noon. Number 3. Know the map. Know where the most and least used health packs are and use them to your advantage. Number 4. Never underestimate the enemy. Keeping your guard down can result in a serious loss on your team and allow the enemy to make that last push to result in your loss. And number 5. Keep track of the enemy ultimates. If you're playing Mercy and you haven't seen the enemy McCree or Soldier use his ultimate, don't use Valkyrie in the open. They're most likely saving it up for you when you're flying in the air. And that's it. There is a lot more I could give, but the video would end up being too long. If you have any specific questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll try my best to answer. Just remember, these tips are 1. Geared to mainly console, and 2. Not always going to be right or applicable to every situation and individual. Some people may not need to fix their controller, and some people may not want to queue with other people, and that's completely okay. This is no 100% guarantee guide, but it is something that I've realized as I've climbed through the ranks. These tips are from my climbing experience as a support main, so these may not apply to you as closely. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Wow, oh yeah.
You got grab again? That's a fucking amazing Zarya. You. Tracer 1, Tracer 1, Tracer 1.
Okay.
Nice. Well, I'm in diamond now. 45 Elans and 7 deaths. That's pretty good. Pretty good. 15 player kill streak. Yay! I'm in. Thank you. I think I have 29 SR. Yeet.